Today, I would like to talk about the warning of J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, I've spent probably too much time, only God knows, on secondary works from this man. Now, many people know him for The Lord of the Rings, but that's not why I enjoy Tolkien. I enjoy Tolkien as a theologian. That might be kind of controversial to say, but reading his worldview, like reading not just the mythos, but why he spent literally over a decade, years and years and years on the work Lord of the Rings that we all know. Why did he value language? Why did he value morality? And why did he paint it the way that he did? And why do we like it? Like these questions are remarkable, and they're answered in these books. First, we have a work directly from Tolkien that I've spent some time with. I just read it for the second time recently on fairy stories. On fairy stories. It's a work, it's an essay that Tolkien gave on the value and importance of fantasy, of the fantastic. Here we have, again, Chesterton and Tolkien as theologians. I mentioned Tolkien as a theologian earlier. That might seem kind of strange to some people, but after reading this work by Alison Milbank, I have to agree, and we'll get into it today. Then, of course, I have my bookmark. My sister gave me this from Scotland. That's so cool. It's a castle. You know what's up. Thank you, Ansley. Then we have Peter Kraft's The Philosophy of Tolkien, a worldview, the worldview behind The Lord of the Rings. This work was remarkable. In this book, I read it. It was just remarkable, talking about the mythos, talking about, as plain as day, it's on the cover, the worldview, how Tolkien wrote the world. Kraft, just fun fact, is one of my favorite authors. He's so conclusive and so easy to read. Then we have the Splintered Light. This was an unexpected read. I found this in a used bookshop. Unreal. This book talks about the language of Tolkien, how he approached every name, every city and person, and how the name gave context to each situation, thing. He saw the value of word. This book does the absolute best job in describing, I believe, Tolkien's value of language. This was actually given to me by my professor. I'm lucky enough to have a professor who genuinely loves Tolkien as much as I do, if not more. Tolkien's Theology of Beauty. This book, it's quite on the expensive side, but it was worth it for me as a nerd. It is remarkable. Not just the cover, but literally the content of this book changed the way that I view a tree. The beauty of it. And finally, the book that actually started it all, and why I want to talk to you about Tolkien today and his warning, the Sanctifying Myth. The Sanctifying Myth did something to me. It showed me the magic behind Tolkien and Lewis. There's letters in here from Tolkien and Lewis. There's a word specifically that I want to talk about today, and it's Anamnesis. I first want to mention this word because it's actually quite new to me, and I think it's probably new to you. Anamnesis is a Greek term meaning remembrance, but not mere mental recall. It refers to a participating remembrance, so to speak, in which a past truth or event is made present, informative, now. The idea is central to Sanctifying Myth, where John Granger argues that myth, when rightly ordered toward truth, does not distract us from reality, but forms us for it. In this framework of Sanctifying Myth, Anamnesis explains how sacred stories are not escapism or symbolism alone, but realities that shape us when we remember them rightly. By rehearsing God's acts, ordering our loves, and aligning our imagination with truth, the myth is not invented, but received. And through that remembrance, we are gradually sanctified, becoming what the story has always been calling us to be. J.R.R. Tolkien's understanding of Anamnesis was ultimately rooted in the kingdom of God, something that he fully recognized as the work unfolded. In a famous letter to Father Robert Murray, Tolkien clarified in his intent with striking honesty. The Lord of the Rings is, of course, a fundamentally religious and Catholic work, unconsciously at first, but consciously in the revision. This comes from letter 142. What Tolkien discovered in the process of writing was not that he had to impose theology onto the story, but that the story itself was receiving theology through him. He repeatedly struggled to complete The Lord of the Rings, revising and reworking its ending many times, not because of technical failure, but because as a true sub-creator, as he would say, he understood the work was not purely his own. As he wrote elsewhere, the artist does not invent from nothing, but works in sub-creation, in partnership with, he would call, the primary world, receiving rather than manufacturing meaning. This is why The Lord of the Rings feels real, why it carries moral weight, and why it endures generation to generation. Tolkien literally, it's crazy, endured significant criticism for those who dismiss the book as a mere World War I escapism, a charge that completely collapses entirely for anyone who reads The Return of the King, where sacrifice, kingship, healing, and hope are not escaped into but remembered, made present through myth that sanctifies rather than distracts. Many readers approach Tolkien's mythos trying to identify hidden symbols. They try to assign them with fixed modern meanings. And no element has been treated more than the One Ring, and honestly less successful over the years. Critics and commentators have attempted to explain it away as an allegory for the atomic bomb, a warning about industrial technology, a statement on environmental destruction, or a critique on corrupted political power. Each of these readings tries to reduce the ring to a single historical or ideological concern, making it easier to categorize and control. Tolkien consistently resisted such interpretations because the ring was never meant to function as one-to-one symbol. It represents the timeless temptation of power, divorced from goodness and reality that transcends any single era. And it possesses on every character and every reader, not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a moral weight to be endured. Besides Tom Bombadil. Now, I had to mention him because at least one of you is gonna wonder why, if you've read the books, why was Tom actually not affected by the ring? I'm going to throw this in here. Fun fact. Every character in The Lord of the Rings is vulnerable to the One Ring, which is ultimate power. Each desires the ring, and it can basically twist or reverse anything, even Gandalf. The ring gains its strength, not by force, but by attaching itself to the will and amplifying whatever the bearer already loves most. So Tom alone is unaffected because he desires nothing beyond what he has. He does not seek to order the world, improve it, or rule it, and therefore the ring finds nothing in him to grasp. Tom Bombadil functions theologically as a figure of rightly ordered being in relation to nature and the word. He does not dominate the world, nor is he mastered by it, but dwells literally kind of joyfully in harmony. He's kind of like this weird guy, man, but we love him. We love Tom and his yellow boots. Well, I hope you're enjoying the video, you nerd. I want you to know there's more nerdy content for you. If you click the link in my description, you'll actually see Theos University, okay? Theos University is a library of theological content that's completely accessible for you. Peter Craif's on there, right? Some of the best theologians. Dr. Chris Palmer is on there, a Greek theologian. I mean, it's just really good stuff. I think that you should check it out. Check it out today. Use code theology, all caps. It's a great resource, especially if you're a nerd, which you are. I know you are, so do it. Click the link in the description. He names things without possessing them. He commands without threat or control, and he sings reality into clarity rather than bending it to his will, echoing basically a pre-fallen posture towards creation. In this way, Tom stands as a reminder of creation before domination, where the word orders the world in truth rather than using power to remake it. So again, that was just a side note, but I think completely necessary, as I have not seen a really adequate description of Tom ever. He's kind of just one thing that we like to avoid. So the One Ring is not the atomic bomb or any other single historical symbol. It is something better. And I don't mean by nature, but in definition. To understand what Tolkien meant, we have to look directly at the author's own words and tone. So these are words directly from Tolkien's mouth. The ring represents the will to mere power, seeking to make itself objective by physical force and mechanism, and so inevitably destroying others. And elsewhere, again, this is not him, this is another quote, the ring of Sauron is only dangerous to mortal hands. It is altogether evil. But when we approach the One Ring, it is vital that we see it's tied to machinery. The ring is inherently bound to machinery in Tolkien's moral and theological sense, not because it is a physical device, but because it embodies what J.R.R. Tolkien would describe as the machine, the use of external power techniques and devices to dominate reality by bypassing moral formation. J.R.R. Tolkien was intentional in showing that his villains relied on such machinery. Sauron does not rule through loyalty, love, freely given allegiance, but through systems of domination, slavery, and fear. Even the orcs were driven by him, by the divine evil in a sense that he had, driving his forces like parts in a machine rather than persons with wills. His armies move not because they believe in him, but because they are compelled, manufactured, and consumed by the very mechanisms of power he depends upon. The reliance of such machinery ultimately led to the downfall of Sauron, the destruction of Isengard, to the collapse of Mordor itself. J.R.R. Tolkien was explicit about what machinery represented, literally writing, "The enemy in successive forms is always neutrally concerned with sheer domination." This is a huge word for Tolkien, domination. And so the ring symbolizes the will to power. The distortion of all good ends by means of machinery. And again, he defines the machine even more plainly. By the machine, I intend all the use of external plans or devices instead of development of the inherent inner powers or talents, or even the use of these talents with the corruptive motive of dominating. We find ourselves surrounded by machines more every day, okay? They started by taking over daily tasks like a light switch or an oven, making life more convenient. But with the development of AI, I am more concerned. We now have the opportunity to give up our thinking for the sake of efficiency, for the sake of speed, for the sake of progress. But this is not just unnatural, it is unhuman. Another thing noted about Tolkien was his love for trees, and this appreciation of slowness is seen in his work through, you could say, the Ents, these slow-moving beings that are literally talking and walking trees. I think these two things coincide quite well with each other, but more importantly, I find it interesting what Jesus had to say about trees in the relation to us human beings. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus compares us to a tree. He calls us to bear good fruit and to be planted in good soil. God is not calling us to root ourselves in the ground and never move, or have lemons for hair. Of course, in his wisdom, he is calling us to be like that, fruitful, planted, steadfast, ultimately good. But what if he is also calling us to be slow? The machine moves at a pace only metal can bear, but we are not made in that likeness. Allow me to walk in a bit of enchantment with you. I want to dabble in the magic of Jesus' words. I want to think. The pace of a tree is slow, and it is alive. See a tree, you see it sways, it moves, it breathes, it bruises, and it heals. However, one thing a tree never tries to do is change its substance or speed up its essence, meet a fruit quota. It simply is. The pace of life we find ourselves in is not natural. It is not something that sustains life, and ultimately, it is not the pace of Jesus. I do not know where the world is going, but I do know this. While the world gets more efficient, I want to get more slow. Well, it gets more done. I want to enjoy what has been done. I want to watch the sun rise and fall. I want to feel the warmth of spring and the chill of autumn. I want to experience life. I want the better thing. I want to be alive. And maybe that means I'm less efficient, and maybe that means I go slower. But for me, that is okay. Is it for you? We will be dead soon enough, promise me. And I would rather enjoy life. I would rather worship and honor the Lord by observing his symphony rather than trying to be the best player in the orchestra. We have an opportunity in this day and age to observe, to see. And I do not want the machine to control me. Efficiency, dominance, speed is not the pace of Jesus Christ. And I'm not calling us to be lazy. I'm not calling us to, not do good things in life. Trust me, I am all about hard work, and so was Tolkien. We're not so dogmatic that we're saying, go live in the Highlands, although that does seem enjoyable. It's not realistic. But in the midst of the metal grinding, do not think you have to move with it. We are different. We are alive. We are made in the image of God who rested in creation himself. It's a commandment. It's beautiful, and it's what we need. God knew it, and it's best that we operate in that knowledge.